versatile player, can do a lot of things with her pimples, can also use her forehand. It's going to be interesting to see this matchup.
Right, so for those of you who are less familiar with Musa, as you might be, she's got pips on the backhand side. She's got rocket-like power, strong step-around forehand. And, of course, table tennis fans are going to be very familiar with Liu Shiwen. She's been #1 in the world for some time, currently #2 in the world. She's got 4 Women's World Cup titles to her name, but not a single Women's Singles World Championship title yet, despite being quite close, up 2-0 in Game 7 against Ding Ning, the Queen of Hearts. In 2015 in Suzhou, the last opportunity for this title, but failed to capture it. Ding Ning, after a long time out, came back, the medical timeout, was on the ground and fought through injury to win. It was a very dramatic moment. Liu Shiwen and Ding Ning also playing doubles here. We see them having breakfast on the regular, close friends. But when it comes to the singles, it's just business, right? I mean, you might be playing your best friend in the final. There's Khalili Marandi, umpire there, officiating the match. Yeah, style-wise, Musa's another one of those players, much like Fang Bo was in 2015. Anders Hendrickson for you from Sweden, Michael. And I was going to say Fang Bo in 2015 was not expected to sort of rock the boat so heavily, knocking out Xu Xin and Zhang Jike and really testing Ma Long in the final. Musa sometimes has some losses to foreigners. I remember losing to Ai Fukuhara. I think it was the China Open just a few years ago. A deuce in the 7th match. But there aren't too many Chinese players that are losing to foreigners. Liu Shiwen, of course, Feng Tianwei is the thorn in the side. I think ever since 2010, the World Championships, where Feng Tianwei beat Ding Ning and Liu Shiwen for the 2 singles points. Musa 28 years old. I think that's how old Li Xiaoxia was when she retired. It's pretty rare to see 28-year-olds, and you could see the pips there on the backhand side. A lot of sponge, so there's going to be a lot of spring and speed. Also, the ball will sink in a little bit, so she'll be able to spin it. Ball sit on the rubber just a little bit longer.
Interesting story with her, because before 2015 World Championships in Suzhou, she almost sort of qualified herself into the team and being able to play, and now remained on the national team, although normally at that age, 28, 29, 30, sort of slide out of the national team, but here she is.
Yeah, and that is very rare, right?
Doing her stuff, and also a fierce competitor, a dangerous player, I would say, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm thinking about investments for a team. If you've got a 16-year-old who's really hot, playing really well, that's the future. You're investing in someone who could bring 6 years, you develop them, they really take home, an Olympic gold medal, offer more dominance to your team. Not that China needs any more dominance, but if you are China, you want to stay on top, yeah, you do whatever you have to, to produce the best players and the strongest team. So it is interesting that Musa's here at 28, especially having never been one of the top 4. But then again, there was the Marvelous 12, the qualification, much like Lin Gaoyuan, the Dark Knight for this tournament. Beat everybody he played, including Xu Xin in the Marvelous 12. Came out #1. So we'll see. I mean, he's got a chance to do what Fang Bo did and even more. And that was in 2015 in Suzhou. Yeah, I'm excited for this style matchup, Michael. You've got the short, quick strokes of Liu Shiwen at the top of the screen. Musa playing a much more, for lack of better words, masculine game. Just backing off the table a bit, taking longer strokes. Less about efficiency, more power, more spin.
It's going to be interesting to see how much she's able to go around the corner, as you said. Good in pivoting from backhand to forehand. But the question is then, how much are you able to get in with your forehand here from Musa?
Right, and then the blocking skills of Liu Shiwen, because of her short stroke, she's always in the right place, it seems. We'll find out best of 7. Now, while she does have a powerful forehand, Musa, she also has the short pips on the backhand side of the racket, which is pretty unusual at this high of a level. That could be used to her advantage, less rotation, forcing Liu Shiwen to have to lift a little bit more. Not as easy of a counterattack. Yeah, oh, the power and right back down the line off the short pips. 2 shots in this rally back and forth are already just springing some energy into the crowd.
Oh, what a nice textbook block with those pimples, you know, follow through a little bit with the wrist, and what a timing.
Feels always like a little bit of a gamble, but Liu Shiwen was turning the corner at the same time. There's that step around forehand. So not a point yet for world rank number 2, Liu Shiwen, the 4-time World Cup winner. Mutsa, the 28-year-old who's happy to be here, starting strong. Just another reminder, being here is one thing. Wu Yang, the best chopper in the world, is just a practice partner here, not even competing. Streak continues. When it comes to power versus efficiency, it's not always clear which wins. There's so many factors in table tennis. But at the start of this game, Mutsa's really making it her own, putting the pressure on deep to the corners. Well placed, soft touch. If Liu Shiwen doesn't go for that over the table, it might bounce a second time. Very pensive crowd, all watching this match right here. Such combination, such speed off those short pips, the fast parallel one, and then right back cross court.
Pretty impressive start, I have to say.
Yeah, can't get much better than this. 6 in a row. Maybe it's a shirt signed by Mutsa. Come shop at the World Championships. Get discounts on awesome designs, national shirts. Look at all these consumers here. Not a single point yet. It's only game 1. You know, we've seen matches, you know, Fan Zhendong winning essentially 11-0 against Stefan Fegel. It was 11-1 at the Polish Open, and Fegel comes back to win the next 2 games. But you look at this and you think, what if Liu Shiwen was knocked out in the women's singles quarterfinals? I guess that point happened while we were checking out the replay of the one before. A quick point for Liu Shiwen, but Mutsa continues on her streak. Now again, neither player has a coach in their corner as they're from the same national association, so it's really going to be up to themselves to recall what they need to. Make their own adjustments and adapt. It's one of the beauties of table tennis, the dance and the adapting. I have a funny feeling the rest of the games in this match will be much closer. I guess they couldn't be much further apart. Jeez. Pendulum serve and just a powerful turn on the forehand.
Look, it's not a bad return by any means. It's just a quick push, and she's all over that ball. Unbelievable skill set and determination and sharpness, I would say.
So 9 game points for the underdog, Mutsa. And a spinny backhand, a backhand loop with the short pips. 12 points to share, but not much sharing going on. Mutsa takes 11 of them for herself, and we'll be back for game 2 to see if sharing is caring or what the deal is. as the ball bounces out into existence, or out of existence, I should say. Game 2 comes into existence. Liu Shiwen on the receive. And she's doubled her total score of points in this match with that point right there.
Of course, we know that she can come back, but she can also bounce out of the women's single tournament if Muzi is continuing like this.
Very impressive play. Mutsa gets a ripping forehand in first. It seems like it should win the point, but Liu Shiwen again with those short strokes, moving well and anticipating. I think if she can keep Mutsa deep on the table early in the rally, she'll have a better chance. But that's easy to say. Mutsa's turned the corner on some of these deep shots and just hit absolute finishers. So the opposite scenario to start. 3 points for Liu Shiwen. Now Mutsa's taken a title on the World Tour, considering she hasn't played too many World Tour events. It was actually in Sweden, and it was over Zhu Yuling. That was 2015. Which is also interesting, because if Mutsa does go on to win this match, Zhu Yuling's still in it. When we have a chance to check out the draw, whether it's the semifinal or the final, there's a decent chance she could be playing Zhu Yuling. Edge of the table for Liu Shiwen. But we are seeing a bit more aggressive, I'd say, initiatives out here. A bit more control, sort of dictating the point from Liu Shiwen. And even though that ball catches the edge, she's going quick and she's going deep to the width of the table, trying to play it, sort of get Mutsa off balance. And the pressure's working.
But there's also where you can negotiate those pimps a little bit, because if you can force the ball angle out there and you don't have the body behind, and that makes it very hard to do something, because you don't get the same grip from outside your body.
I think that's the second phrase I've heard from you. Negotiating the pimps. That's what Liu Shiwen is doing. So many different terms, you know. Many parts of the world say pips, some say pimples, some say pimps for short. I think I heard knobs recently from several of the players. That's what Mutsa has on the backhand side.
But as you said, not too common that players do play with that anymore. So it kind of makes anything that makes your style unusual, it's normally an advantage.
Right. Well, that's part of the reason Ni Xiaolian, you know, beat Ai Fukuhara when she was number 4 in the world. Li Xiaolian was 52 years old and beat a top 4 in the world player. She just knocked out Georgina Pota from this tournament. I mean, her style is so tricky and so unusual. Who has a practice partner that plays like Ni Xiaolian? And at the same time, the Chinese national team, how many aggressive players, non-choppers, have short pips on the backhand side? Not a lot.
Creeping back into it. Did well there. Good touch shot. Clever serve as well. So here we go.
So with all the experience that Liu Shiwen has, you have to imagine she's going to find a way to handcuff her opponent. I'd really love to know how many times these two have played in Chinese Super League, in the Marvelous 12, just throughout the national trainings and whatnot. But another thing is Liu Shiwen does have a lot more experience under pressure on the international stage. It counts for a lot more when you're playing for your country as opposed to in your country.
And especially at the World Championships, I would say that it really comes out. Both players, of course, extremely motivated. And those crucial points where you know the confidence, you've been there before.
Now, we talked about vocalization and being fired up, the emotion that the players bring to the table. Liu Shiwen letting out a quick squeak right there, a shout even. And I think that was a sign. The way she did it was that there's so much tension that she wants to win the points so badly as soon as she realizes it's off. There's a moment of celebration.
But if you look upon lucky points, Harry as well touched the net on a few occasions, and still only 3 points down. Muzi.
Beautiful, turning the corner, hugging the ball, just wrapping around. A lot of twist at the waist for Muzi to play the line, especially with her body and her shoulders so open. I mean, the easier shot would have been to go cross court by far, but that's part of the reason the surprise was there, and Liu Shiwen couldn't take it, couldn't get back for it. Oh, and there's the power. A roaring shot, and the roar right after in celebration. Liu Shiwen showing that she can bring the pace too. She's got Muzi jumping first. You could see the neck veins popping out of Liu Shiwen on the corner of the screen as she started to scream in celebration. But again, getting the opponent off balance for a moment, hitting it out of reach. Much more commonly finding the middle, which not too many people can do against Liu Shiwen.
Wow, what a counterattack.
When it comes in that hard, it doesn't usually come back on the table. Liu Shiwen seems quite familiar and prepared. Get ready to watch something that looks like it's not in slow motion. There it was, already over. 4 game points for Liu Shiwen to come back. Just as we talked about, loses game 1, 11-1, and look how fierce that face is. Oh, and a burning forehand flip. Not even within 5 feet of that ball, punishing Muzi. This is turning into a real battle, Michael. Game 3 coming up. We'll see who takes the lead right after this. Back for game number 3, and the seesaw has started to tilt from one way to the other. Liu Shiwen in control in game 2. A little bit off the edge, but a wide angle forehand on the opening. Now, when we talk about power, we know Muzi's a power player. Liu Shiwen not known for her power so much, not known as a big hitter, but she's shown us on a few occasions that she can open with authority and that she can counterattack very comfortably.
I think the counter-attacking skills is what makes her very, very dangerous, close to the table and really swing at it, and with such a precision. That's the thing with her forehand especially. So in the last game she showcased really her skills. Muzi stepping in there with really some hard rockets, just firing a rocket back.
Right, I think of it much like boxing, that if you know you can get out of the way of a punch, you know you're going to have a better shot at your opponent while they're recovering from the swing. Same in table tennis. There's some serious power with the flat hit. Again, less rotation from Muzi on the backhand side. Whenever she hits it with the red rubber, it's going to be up to Liu Shiwen to keep the face of the racket just a little bit open or put a little bit more lift on the ball.
Liu Shiwen also world-class from backhand to forehand. Unbelievable quick.
Almost comes down on the edge. You know, in those push rallies, someone's going to look for a flip, but it felt dangerous that Liu Shiwen flipped it relatively softly into the forehand. This gives a big opportunity for Musa to create a strong opening. So the scores have been very back and forth. Not a close game yet. I mean, 11-1, 11-6. It's still early in the game, but a quick runaway, 4-1 for Musa. There's the angle. Back of the table, low and spinny and wide. Looked like maybe Musa was looking to turn the corner. And by corner, I mean from the middle of the table to create a forehand.
A bit of a quick hook serve as well. So first time we saw that serve and paid off right away. The same confidence on that backhand opening. It's been very quick now. That one there, a little too easy, and then under pressure right away.
Now, the farther from the table that Musa gets, especially on the backhands, the tougher it's going to be because she generates less spin. So it's going to be tough to ensure a shot. And now a service error as it drifts long. 3 points in a row for Liu Shiwen.
Kind of off track a little bit there. You almost felt it up here as well. You know, some thoughts that swirling around up there, and then causes you to sort of, you lose so little, and then devastating effects.
Now, if this ball can stay lower, Musa's been able to leave it short on the forehand side effectively. In game one, she did it on a few occasions, but it's a very difficult shot to keep so low, especially if Liu Shiwen is as fast as she is to get in. So we've got 5 points in a row for Liu Shiwen.
I mean, it's a question of focus all the time, you know, to keep your concentration level absolutely perfect in a match like that. If you want to beat the world #1 or any absolute top players, you have to apply the pressure to deal with every single point. And sometimes just 1 point there and here that goes the wrong way, and then have a triple effect to get more points on the board, and you quickly sort of try to figure it out, and it's sort of interesting mental game.
Right, you don't want to let 1 point cost you 3. Seen that before. Ugo Calderano versus Kenta Matsudaira. I think it was the Austrian Open final. He was up 5-2, got called for a serve, and after that, same with Jun Mizutani versus Yu Ziyang in 2014 at the Japan Open. Call went the wrong way. It didn't seem like Mizutani really ever picked back up his focus. Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it appeared to cost him the game. And in all honesty, that's on him. It was unfortunate, right? It happened. I remember it very clearly. There was no way the umpire could have seen it without a video replay, or it was very tough to reimagine. Either way, Liu Shiwen in the lead by 2.
Coming back, got her focus back. Going about her business. And this man is looking very interested in this match, but it's a good match. It's really a high-quality exchange. It's going to be interesting.
It's fun that you've joined me in commenting on the crowd. It's always fun. Yeah, it is a bit of a tug of war. It's focus compared to the focus of your opponent. So if Liu Shiwen gets a little bit too comfortable, that could be when Musa, even with the same level of focus, is more effective. So they're both constantly trying to outdo the other in every aspect of the game. I guess with all factors considered anyway. So now back dead even at 7 points. An expensive forehand, a full stroke from Musa from the middle of the table as she turns to the backhand, leaving open the wide forehand. This is the pattern that we saw Liu Shiwen use many times playing cross-court in game 2. Yeah, you could see how off balance she was as she pulled the racket up to the forehead and was leaning off a little bit to the left foot. This time, a beautiful shot completely fools Liu Shiwen, and it was so wide. Whenever you see the non-racket hand involved in stopping the ball, it's always a satisfying feeling.
Smart play. I've been thinking about that because from the middle she's been going towards Liu Shiwen's forehand several times. Lost points almost all the time. This one, good mix-up.
Very loud, deserved haul. Liu Shiwen testing the middle, deep to the backhand corner.
Understand how much strength that you have to put into that ball to just to drive it with the pimples on the other side, pushing you to the middle, and what a timing, what sort of an example of the physical strength.
Yeah, really impressive power from Liu Shiwen. Again, as you mentioned, getting less spin from the backhand of Musa. And now 2 game points. This is much like Stefan Fagel versus Fan Zhendong as far as scores go. 11-1 in the first, and the player comes back to potentially win the next 2 games. Third towel break. I'm thinking for Musa, if she plays it deep to the backhand, if she is able to step around, she's more likely to cover the table on the return because it's coming from deep in the backhand corner. It's not going to be a cross-court wide to the forehand shot. She tries changing it up, plays the short side of the table, and Liu Shiwen very satisfied as she anticipates well, moves to cover both corners of the table, and 11 points to 8 takes the game for a 2-1 lead. We'll be back for game 4 right after this. And we're back for game number 4. Liu Shiwen leading 2-1 right now. The backhand just hasn't been quite as effective. In game 1, there was nothing Musa could miss.
And it's a tempo change also from Liu Shiwen there, going both placement and tempo change. So makes it much more difficult, of course. Now she's finding sort of the confidence to play against the pimples. Getting in also with some more first attacks now and sort of getting a flow of her backhand, and nice there with the spin change.
Got a permanent smile there in the red and black. Person was just so happy to be here. Again, only a few tickets left for today, and I think everything for the rest of the tournament is sold out. You know, I was thinking about the experience level, the difference between these two on the World Tour. And the fact that Musa came out so dominant in game one really just made you think, Liu Shiwen, I think a good sign of experience and mental strength is the ability to come back from being down. That's almost the standard for how you measure it. When it would be easy to give up, but you do the opposite. You thrive, you fight, and you come back.
But just by being so quick on the ball now, she forces some errors, both in her opening game and also in the touch shots.
How does that one not win Musa the point? Spinny low to the net, deep on the table, and a short counter stroke. Watch this one more time. Unbelievable. That's a 8.5, 9 out of 10 opening from the back of the table on a decent receive, and it comes back even better. And finally a serve that puts a little bit of a dent on the scoreboard for Liu Shiwen. I will say, in terms of focus, I talked to you about how Ma Long doesn't really talk at this tournament. He's so focused that as soon as the tournament's over, his personality will come back. Liu Shiwen I had a brief chance to chat with on 2 occasions, and one of them was, you know, a greeting, and after that I felt like she's in focus zone. You can see it. And this is a big chance for her. Who knows how many times she'll be one of the top 2 seeds for the World Championship, a title she doesn't have yet. And it's really a shame, too. I mean, to take so many titles, be at the top of the world for so long, you're collecting all these accolades, but to not get a World Championship title would be, I think, a shame is maybe the best word I can think of for Liu Shiwen. Where is Musa from game one? She's playing a different player than she was in game one. Tactically, from a power standpoint as well. And finally, a softer spinny shot that sets up the power and a merciless inside-out forehand kill shot.
There was a tons of desperation in that shot. It just flew around the corner and then...
Right.
Wow.
This is a caution to the wind. I'm down 1-8. Sort of just going for it. Wow. I mean, what, 3 in a row? Wider and wider to the forehand edge of the table, and Liu Shiwen brings it back to the very corner. She leaves just 1% for increase, and the most difficult shot in that whole rally finishes it. Look at the placement on the table for this last one.
So much body strength, upper body strength to keep that ball on the table.
Yeah, I think
she was on the heels as well to work her way into the ball again.
That's right. Sometimes your feet are in a place where your legs are really generating everything, and other times you're pretty much in the air and just using whatever you can, as you mentioned, the upper body to twist, the arm and the wrist. I mean, there was a bit of side spin on that bounce from the point before last as well that made it kick into the body of Musa. So 7 game points for a 3-1 lead. It's going to be a really tough task for Musa to come back from down 1-3, especially with the scores that Liu Shiwen's been producing. Wow! Piece of cake. Cake by the ocean for Liu Shiwen, just right at the back of the table. A beautiful full stroke, and it's hooking off to the forehand side. 11-3 to take a 3-1 lead, and we'll be back. Game 5 coming up right after this. And we're back for game number 5. Liu Shiwen cruising through, or at least it appears that way, after an 11-3 victory, turning things around after dropping game 1, 1-11. Now, Michael, I was telling you that last shot that Liu Shiwen had to end game number 4 looked to me like the way you hit to somebody when they say that they play ping pong and you don't know how good they are. You just sort of put it on. That's the effort that it appeared Liu Shiwen put into it, and she produced just an amazing shot that wasn't even touched. Once again, that wide angle. She's so fast on her feet. You know, watching Liu Shiwen in her stance as well, the feet will do this little shuffle, much like a 90s dance move. And I saw Zhu Yuling doing the exact same thing before, but it seems to keep her really loose and ready for these quick little movements.
She just looks to be in good form to me. I mean, the meaning that the physical condition in good form, very good balance, quick on the ball, solving this match, which is not so easy in the beginning, but then just taking command and just raising her level way up there. It looks like Mushi is playing poorly, but in fact she's trying everything and she's getting punished.
You're right, there's been no one else in this tournament who's been able to beat Mutsa so far. And yet Mutsa hasn't scored a point in this game. It's interesting watching Liu Shiwen versus Mutsa and thinking about Liu Shiwen versus Ding Ning, but that's between every other point when she steps out into a lead like this. Once again, the power and the placement, corner to corner. Mutsa's chasing. You know, we talked about how having something unusual on your racket can be a strong advantage, but when your opponent settles into it and the surprise factor's gone, suddenly it can be a bit of a disadvantage because you can't spin the ball and be quite as aggressive from behind the table. A little bit of help off the top of the net. Almost recovered by Liu Shiwen, but first point for Mutsa. And the Liu Shiwen train continues chugging along down the tracks. Mutsa looking quite puzzled, looking for a solution out there.
Almost called a runaway train because this is going only one direction. It's going in the favor of Liu Shiwen. I mean, we have to recognize the form itself, but also look for a little bit of improvement in her game too. You see them occasionally when you sit here and comment on World Championships, and of course you see them all the time at World Tour level. But she looks unbelievable, strong and sort of perfect timing, determined. I'm quite impressed.
Yeah, I really don't know anyone who wouldn't be impressed watching the way Liu Shiwen is playing right now. And another thing to note, remember, she was suspended after skipping out on the Women's World Cup last year. So she was out of the action for a bit, dropped out of the world rankings, and still at the Asian Championships was the only player from China who was able to beat Miu Hirano. That was in the team event, of course. There's that positive head shake, sort of going through the motions of the plan, saying, right, got it, okay, ready to go. It appears that she has a long push and then opens up with the backhand to backhand rally. Now, easier said than done, but if Mutsa could punch it to the middle near the elbow on the backhand side. She's trying for different placement on the table, the step around forehand. It's just so tough to hit it to the shorter part of the table with those pips on the low shots.
But remember also that exchange where she was in the lead and dropped, sort of lost that focus and so on, and really never sort of came back to be confident. I mean, you can see now that Liu Shiwen is winning the whole mental game in this match. as well as the technical and tactical, I would say, but dominating performance.
Let's see if she continues. She's got 2 more points to go. And now we have 6 sorry, not championship, but match points rather. Thinking a little bit ahead. Still tough opponents left in the draw, of course.
Maybe an edge.
Oh, it was. Okay. Maybe. So still 2 to go. And this time in net, right back timeout. Smart timeout from Liu Shiwen. Still a 3-point lead. I think the 3-point differentials, you know, I see a lot of timeouts, as you mentioned, on the World Tour. And a 3-point lead is enough to feel like you're still in control. Or, you know, when you're down as well. But 3 points is recoverable, but it's also encouraging, no matter which side you're on. So that's the most common differential I see. Someone has a big lead. I think we saw it earlier, but the self timeouts are much more difficult to call.
It's also a question of now you always come to service as well. She has 1 more, and then you get the serve and you get some time to think. And in this case now, let her serve 1, and then sort of I have the advantage. It's you're going to think mostly about your serves, or so.
Yeah, so Liu Shiwen definitely will have 2 serves in this game if she needs them. She's got 1 more receive here. Not a bad idea. Long push to the backhand and counter cross court. I mean, this is also just a sign that she's confident to go backhand to backhand with Musa, of what her percentages have been since game 1.
Missed the table by quite a bit there, though.
Yeah. Still has to be focused. 2-point lead. And this time a step around forehand after the long serve. We've seen some long serves in the women's singles matches, the last 2, both from top Chinese players. Zhu Yuling using them very effectively, and now Liu Shiwen with 3 match points. And she does it, screaming her way through, and what a turnaround from an 11-1 loss in game 1. World rank number 2 waves to the fans in the crowd from Germany, China, and all over the world as she moves on to the women's singles semifinal over Musa. Michael, what are your thoughts?
I thought we might have seen, at least let's put it like this, a very, very strong gold medal contender here in Liu Shiwen. I think I'm impressed by the way she handled and looks strong, looks in good